It's only a couple of years since the world has recovered from the fear of COVID pandemic. Now again, people are becoming afraid. There are apprehensions that another pandemic is coming to trouble the humanity. This is because a contagious disease which is fast spreading like wildfire, has been reported from China. It is said that the new disease is caused by a virus named, Metaneumo virus. So this Metaneumo virus has sown the seeds of fear in the minds of humanity. China has not said much about this. There are some reports that China has declared an emergency in the country. Other reports say the situation is not that serious, but China is just being vigilant. Initially, the reports appeared in social media. Then mainstream media also started reporting the contagious disease. I think a report appeared in the Reuters, the world-renowned news agency. The Chinese government has also responded and said the government is monitoring the situation and the health authorities are ready to face any eventuality, but the world is not convinced. At the same time, the World Health Organization, which is said to be in very good terms with China, has not responded. But there is a rider. The World Health Organization, a couple of days, very recently, the World Health Organization officially asked China to share all the data of COVID pandemic with the organization. It means that China has not shared all the necessary details with the WHO. The World Health Organization reminded China it's not just the moral responsibility, it's a scientific need also. So when the WHO makes such a demand at this time against the backdrop of a new pandemic, there is something rotten. It gives the signal that there is something rotten in China. We don't know whether it is as serious as COVID pandemic or simply it's another kind of flu which happens in all countries during the winter season. Anyway, let us take a closer look at the existing situation in China. Welcome to Insights. This is Hari Kumar. Nowadays, the media is full of reports about a new kind of contagious disease spreading fast across China. This is caused by human metaneumo virus. This metaneumo virus was first separated in, I think it was in 2001 in Europe. This is the disease that is caused by human metaneumo virus is almost like, the symptoms are almost like a flu or a cold. There is a running nose. I am not a medical expert, but I am quoting newspaper reports. You develop a running nose. The virus affects your respiratory system. Then you develop sputum. Then you start cough. So generally the symptoms are the same as common cold or flu. And the reports that appeared on social media are actually very apprehensive. They are appalling. Actually, the social media reports say there are long queues at hospitals across China. Hospitals are filled with patients. Crematoriums are filled with dead bodies. There are big queues at crematoriums. So the situation is almost similar to what existed during the COVID pandemic days. But at the same time, mainstream media has not reported anything like that. But at the same time, the Reuters report said China this time has been very careful and it has declared a treatment protocol right from the beginning. Then the dragon has also declared a treatment protocol, a protocol for laboratories also. So it means that the scale of the disease is big, and China is taking or approaching the disease with a great caution. So that is there. Then uh, let's go into the request of World Health Organization. COVID was first reported from Wuhan province in China in 2019. And at that time, initially China suppressed the whole thing. China had not put a travel ban into the country or from the country. So many people unknowingly entered China, and many Chinese tourists went out also. There were reports that those people who went out from China were one of the main reasons in spreading the pandemic across the world. We don't know. It was said to have been occurred at a seafood market in Wuhan, in China. But we don't know the details. Still, there is some kind of mystery shrouding the whole incident. That is why WHO now demands full details from China, full data from China on the pandemic. But China this time also is very careful. I think China is careful because China knows very well that this is going to affect their economy. If the world develops fear, trade with China may be affected. Tourists may not arrive in China. Business travelers will avoid China. It could also lead to shifting of many industries from China to the neighboring India. So this will be a serious blow to China. China knows that very well. And China has just recovered from a pandemic, and it cannot afford another pandemic. If another pandemic happens, I'm sure China will find it very difficult to get up. So China is worried about their economy, and definitely and rightfully China should be like that, but China should not cause worry to the other countries. So this time I am sure that other countries will be wary. Even if China denies it, the world will be very careful when approaching China. Why such pandemics often break out at China? I think China needs to tell the world about what is really going on in the laboratories across China, what type of research and development works are happening in the country. China has always kept their secret, their developments, their research, and everything under the shroud of secrecy. They need to become more open. So this is the situation, and even if China tries to cover up the whole issue, the world will not be convinced. I am sure that it will be better for China if China becomes transparent and remove the opacity. China is viewed with some amount of suspicion by the whole world, and if China continues this, then the people will become more afraid. So that is why I said so. WHO's request to China for more information at this point has created doubts in the minds of people. There is another factor also, Donald Trump has returned as the president of US. So WHO could be worried. Donald Trump in 2019 and 2020, early 2020s, Donald Trump was angry at WHO. Donald Trump had actually termed WHO as a puppet of Chinese President Xi Jinping. I think the West as a whole is not very happy with WHO chief. The attack against the aircraft of WHO chief at Yemen is significant. You should not miss it. And we need to read into that. I don't think Israel missed the fact that Dr. Tedros, who is the chief of WHO, is not there and mistakenly sent the missile. I think that could have been a warning. Some things might have been brewing, and the West knew that, And WHO has realized the seriousness of the situation. Earlier, Donald Trump had warned Dr. Tedros that the US may walk out of WHO and the US may deny, the financial aid to WHO. Without US aid, the WHO is going to find it very difficult. Anyway, things are not very optimistic at present. Let's hope the whole world will become more transparent and China will yield to the wishes of the whole world. It is in their own interest also. Remember, China cannot withstand another pandemic. So let's see what is going to happen in the coming days. Meet you with more updates. Till then, goodbye.